I wish I were a jellyfish that cannot fall downstairs. Of all the things I wish I wish I were a jellyfish that hasn't any cares and doesn't even have to wish. I wish I were a jellyfish that cannot fall downstairs. Hello and welcome to another Oak Tree English poetry reading. Today we're going to focus on the life and poetry of G.K. Chesterton. The Triolet we just read is called Triolet. Chesterton was born on the 29th of May, the day that this video is being released, in 1874 in Kensington in West London. GK stands for Gilbert Keith. Despite a fairly unorthodox start in his spiritual journey with Unitarian parents and developing an interest in the occult, Chesterton is best remembered for his Christian works, especially Orthodoxy, The Everlasting Man and the Father Brown detective series. His most famous poems reflect this to some extent. Here is The Donkey. When forests walked and fishes flew and figs grew upon thorn, some moment when the moon was blood, then surely I was born. With monstrous head and sickening bray, and ears like errant wings, the devil's walking parody of all four-footed things. The battered outlaw of the earth, of ancient crooked will. Scourge, beat, deride me, I am dumb, I keep my secret still. Fools, for I also had my hour, one far fierce hour and sweet. There was a shout around my head and palms about my feet. At the age of 26, Chesterton married Frances Blogg, whom he credited with leading him back to Anglicanism. He referred to himself as an Orthodox Christian, which was similar to C.S. Lewis's mere Christian. But he later followed his friend Chester-Belloc into Catholicism, eventually earning the papal recognition Knight Commander with Star of the Papal Order of St. Gregory the Great. This next poem reflects his spiritual journey. It's called The Convert. After one moment when I bowed my head, and the whole world turned over and came upright, and I came out where the old road shone white, I walked the ways and heard what all men said, forests of tongues like autumn leaves unshed, being not unlovable, but strange and light. Old riddles and new creeds, not in despite, but softly, as men smile about the dead. The sages have 100 maps to give that trace their crawling cosmos like a tree. They rattle reasons out through many a sieve that stores the sand and lets the gold go free. And all these things are less than dust to me, because my name is Lazarus, and I live. As mentioned earlier, Chesterton was a close friend of Chester-Belloc, who wrote instructive poems like Matilda, who told lies and was burnt to death, and Jim, who ran away and was eaten by a lion. Their lives became so intertwined that George Bernard Shaw dubbed them Chester-Belloc. The two worked together on a magazine, originally New Witness and later GK's Weekly. This final poem is dedicated to his friend and is called To Belloc. For every tiny town or place, God made the stars especially. Babies look up with owlish face and see them tangled in a tree. You saw a moon from Sussex Downs, a Sussex moon, untravelled still. I saw a moon that was the town's, the largest lamp on Camden Hill. Yea, heaven is everywhere at home, the big blue cap that always fits. And so it is Be calm, they come to goal at last, my wandering wits. So is it with the heroic thing, this shall not end for the world's end. And though the sullen engines swing, be you not much afraid, my friend. This did not end by Nelson's urn, where an immortal England sits, nor where your tall young men in turn drank death like wine at Austerlitz. And when the pedants bade us mark what cold mechanics happenings must come, our souls said in the dark, belike, but there are likelier things. Likelier, across these flats afar, these sulky levels smooth and free, the drums that crash a waltz of war, and death shall dance with liberty. Likelier, the barricade shall blare, slaughter below and smoke above, and death and hate and hell declare that men have found a thing to love. Far from your sunny uplands set, I saw the dream, the streets I trod, the lit straight streets shot out and met, the starry streets that point to God. This legend of an epic hour, a child I dreamed and dream it still, unlike the great grey water tower that strikes the stars on Camden Hill. Chesterton died at his home in Beaconsfield, Buckinghamshire, on the 14th of June 1936, aged 62, of heart failure. He left behind a wealth of literature, 80 books, several hundred poems, some 200 short stories, 4,000 essays, mostly newspaper columns, and several plays. I hope you've enjoyed this small section of his work. Please join me next time for another Oak Tree English poetry reading. Goodbye.